So why don't you go ahead and take both children to your Delray doc, who's functional medicine, and get stool tests on them. So I did. And the stool test came back truly not ideal. Welcome to the Fusionary Health Podcast. It's me, your host, Dr. Shivani Gupta, and I am so excited to do a solo episode today. You're going to see more of these because I want to start sharing a little more about all the different beautiful topics I want you guys to know about from Ayurveda. But today we're going to deviate. Today we're not going to go into Ayurveda. We're actually going to go into my mold journey and mold toxicity journey of 2025. And I have been studying mold all year. I have been experiencing mold. I've been remediating mold, assessing mold. And I'm sharing this because it's, to me, when something becomes big and important to me, I think it's so important that we all become aware of it. I'm just one of those people. I call all my friends. I'm like, are you thinking about this? Have you checked this out? You know that symptom you told me about? I really do think you should look at, is it mold? And so here's what I really want you to understand. A house that looks clean and tests mostly clear doesn't necessarily mean that you're all clear. And this mold experience of mine has taught me so many profound lessons. As someone who has studied functional medicine, I've taken certification courses in it. Even I had no idea how insidious mold mycotoxins are. And I'm still learning. And sometimes there are these invisible threats in our lives that teach us the most about really listening to our bodies, really listening to our intuition. And so this has also been one of those years where I'm like, dang, my Ayurvedic teachings held me and kept me from getting disastrously sick. How wonderful is that? So I want to share this deeply personal journey with you. Now, before you think to yourself, oh, mold, that's not my issue. That's not my problem. Hold on. Because here's what most people don't realize. 85% of commercial office buildings have experienced water damage in the past, and 45% have current leakage problems. So this isn't just a Dr. Shivani problem. This is not just my problem. This is actually everywhere, from your office to your grocery store to your gym, maybe even your own home right now. Now, I don't want to stress you out and freak you out, but it's worth paying attention to. So even if you don't think you have mold exposure, I promise you this story has lessons for whatever health mystery you might be facing or someone in your circle might be facing. So here's the first clue. It started with a smell. You know that musty smell that you can notice sometimes? I kept noticing it when I'd walk out of my bedroom. Every morning I'd walk out and be like, what is that smell? That's so weird, outside of my bedroom. And at first I thought, oh, maybe the house needs to be cleaner. Maybe it's the AC. Maybe it's nothing. And I'd always get up, get my kids up, start the day, and forget all about it until the next morning when it happened again. But here's the thing. When you do this kind of work with health, when you help people all day get out and start to tune into their bodies, when you have to practice what you preach, then all of a sudden you start to hear that voice say, you know what? My body is trying to tell me something. And so I made a decision. Before I even tested the house, I tested myself. I wanted to know, is this actually affecting me or am I just being paranoid? And side note to that, at the beginning of 2025, I was looking at my kids and they were having some different health struggles. My daughter was getting frequent headaches. She was having a hard time focusing in school, which she's always had a hard time, but I was noticing how hard high school was for her. And I was like, dang, she's getting kicked in the butt by 9th grade. How can I support this kid? I don't really know, but the headaches and the fact that she and her father just take Tylenol for every headache, that's going to have to change. And no one around here is listening to me. I approach headaches the opposite. When I get a headache, it's, why do I have a headache? Am I dehydrated? Always a good first question. Did I sleep okay? Is it sleep related? Have I had caffeine today? Because I do drink green tea. Did I skip any? That's never the case. I drink a lot of green tea. But it could be like if you're detoxing or something, could it be a caffeine related issue? Then it's like, okay, am I super stressed? What's happening? What is my first natural tool I can reach for? Hydration with electrolytes. Okay. Have I eaten enough today? Okay. Maybe eat a few carbs. Maybe I'm going too lean. Maybe I just didn't eat well. Okay. Next, essential oils. I have a lovely essential oil company I love called High. They make an essential oil, headache oil, and it's listed on my website under favorite products, or you go to casahigh.com and I just rub it on my head and I'm like, okay, that alone can help. And it's like, lay down and relax. Next up, get off your iPhone. Maybe your eyes are tired from being on devices all day long. So I go down my long checklist for headaches. Suffice it to say, I have 2 members of my family who don't do that. They jump to Tylenol or Advil. And I'm like, guys, come on. I take that like once or twice a year. Why is this a frequent weekly issue for you too? So that was kind of a red flag to me. I was like, okay, frequent headaches. Husband has allergies. Son had to go to the allergist. He was starting to have asthma related stuff, and he's a soccer player. He has a lot of endurance. So like, why is the kid having allergies? Is the house too dusty? Kind of opened up some questions there. Then my son was having an issue where he looked like he started presenting with hypoglycemic symptoms. And I took him to the doctor. I took him to a specialist at University of Miami. And when I was doing that process, I thought, you know what, Shivani, you're not going to be happy with the answer you get. You know you're not. Like, you're going to get some answers, and to you, they will be partial answers. So why don't you go ahead and take both children to your Delray doc, who's functional medicine, and get stool tests on them. So I did. And the stool test came back truly not ideal. And at the same time, I was like, well, if I'm going to test my children, I should test myself. Did a stool test on myself. It came back shit show levels bad. And I was like, whoa, okay, what's happening in the month of January, February? I know I have a little bit of fun during the holidays, but this is not right. Something is off. Well, a week later, this mold test that I ordered for myself came back. And that's when my doctor was like, oh, okay, that explains some things. And I thought to myself, why are we not doing mold tests up front? And I know why, because I refer a lot to functional medicine. When you get to functional medicine, they usually want to start you with blood tests, stool tests, the things that will indicate a lot and tell you where to go investigate further. And I totally appreciate that. I appreciate conservative care. I appreciate not wanting to be alarmist. I usually walk in and I'm like, listen, I've already done all that work. Let's test all the things that could go wrong. And they're always very like, no, Shivani, like, we don't want to test you for microplastics, like heavy metals. We don't need to go that far. And I usually have to push for my testing. So I am really grateful that in January 2025, really December 2024, I said, my intuition says I need a mold test. I think it's cheaper to do a mold test on me than it is to do a full house assessment. Let's test me and then let's test the house. Now, was that the right order to do things? I don't know. Maybe because it made me take the house much more seriously. Once I saw those results, I was like, oh, holy shit, you have a problem. And that problem is for real. And my first reaction to the test was like, I'm going to put that down and I am not going to let it dysregulate me. That was my first response. We're not having a tremendous stress response because I know so many people who've been affected by mold. When you're in the integrative space, you meet people who've had the craziest issues. So that moment where I saw that test and the results came back clear as day, I was like, that's validation. And honestly, that validation matters because then you're like, I am not crazy. There is something wrong here. And what's interesting, mold can affect us all differently based on our own genetics, based on our own body, based on where we're at with our immune system, our gut health, how robust and healthy our system is, will dictate how mold affects us because we are so bio-individual. And so that validation really mattered. And think about this. How many of you have felt something was wrong, but everyone around you, maybe even your doctors, made you feel like you were making it up? I see you. I've been there. I have to push so hard. And I teach that. I teach be sovereign in your health. Fight for yourself. Ask the questions. Push your doctors. Why? Because I always have to do that. I still have to do it, which is insane to me. I have like a 3-doctor team when it comes to my health, and I'm still pushing them sometimes. I'm like, how are you guys not really managing me at the highest level, considering what I'm paying and investing to have the results I want and the optimization I want? But it was in that moment of seeing that test where I was like, wow, I'm here too. Now I really am the patient. I got work to do. And and I don't want to do this work, but okay, I guess I have to. Once you know this data point, you're not going to skip it. You're not going to ignore it and say, maybe next year I'll deal with that. It's like a real hitting the wall, the brick wall moment of, oh gosh, okay, this explains a lot. This is affecting my family just in different ways. This is affecting me. So now I've got to take care of it. And honestly, it was such a good moment for me because it also explained why I was having perimenopause symptoms and I was having to work so hard for my health. So rewind back to summer 2024. I was writing a Hay House book. Hay House had decided I could be a Hay House author, and I was really excited. So I was sitting there grinding for months, writing my book, trying to make it the best thing ever. And now that I'm really thinking back in the history, I lost someone really close to me at the end of 2023. So look at your own timeline. Pause for a minute and think, where in my life have I had tragedy? Where have I had trauma? Where has it affected my gut? Did I maybe not do everything I needed to? Or maybe toxic burden can overpower us and now we're in a different position. So my timeline, real quick, I'm sure you don't want to hear my whole life story, but end of 2023, I lost someone I loved. It was so traumatic to myself and my family. My hair started falling out. And that is a sign to me, all right, for me, I don't usually get a lot of other symptoms because I'm working so hard with my health. I take great supplements and I live the Ayurveda lifestyle and I eat so healthy and I focus on sleep, all the things I teach you guys. Like I do that. That's my standard operating procedure of life. But my hair fell out. I was like, okay, that was a stressor. That's your body manifesting your stress. Move into 2024. I call up a favorite doctor. She's been on my podcast. She's so brilliant. Dr. Amy. And I was like, Dr. Amy, it is rough here. I'm trying to write a book. And here's how I know I have a problem. I have access to my current brain. And I also, the way I function, I have access to my entire brain of like file cabinets going back, what sometimes feels like centuries. I'm like, how did you retain all this Ayurvedic wisdom that you got taught over 20 years? You're weird. But it's back here and I can pull it out at any given time. If you said, you know what, I really think that this is my problem, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, you know what? Tulsi is good for that. And I can tell you why, because I was in this place and this doctor and this thing, and this is how it works. I have always leaned on having a really brilliant brain that could do that for me. And also I have a brain that brings a lot of dots together. So I'm always synthesizing and integrating information and trying to like connect so many dots. I enjoy that. That's like what I do in my free time. And all of a sudden I was sitting there writing this book and I couldn't access all the file cabinets and I freaked out. And so I called Dr. Amy. I was like, you know what? I think you're right. I think it's thyroid perimenopause. This is brain fog. This is memory issues. I am tired. Will you help me? She goes, absolutely, Shivani. Of course. Like whatever you want. I do this all day. So I hired her team, started HRT, felt much better. Progesterone, thyroid adjustment, more melatonin on board. We tried testosterone. And I really liked testosterone. I was like, dang, I love this feeling. I feel like this, like I'm motivated. I probably drove my team nuts for 6 months. I was like an overdrive in my business. And lo and behold, fall 2024, I lost some hair. And at the hair salon, they were doing my hair and they're like, you know, you've got these like bumps. And I was like, bumps? What do you mean bumps? That's weird. I don't feel any bumps. What are you talking about? One day I will post this photo. It was the most horrifying photo. It was like someone had like burned 3 holes in your head. Like 3 patches of hair had disappeared. I called them crop circles. And so I went to derm. They're like, yeah, this is alopecia areata. And I was like, excuse me, what? No, I didn't generate an autoimmune condition just like that. Like, no. So they injected it. I was like, fine, let's just move forward. Whatever. I'll come off injected testosterone. I'll move forward. Because again, I like being a science experiment. I love biohacking. I love longevity. I love trying everything. And then I know, can I recommend it or not? And do I have to give caveats when I recommend it? And how did it work? And how can I support all these women who are my clients and people around me? So I was like, okay, injected testosterone didn't work. We tried another one. We felt like it wasn't working. We tried cream. We believe, we're not sure, that testosterone causes hair loss in me. So fast forward to this last summer. I had already in February gotten someone to come and assess the house. And let's come back to remediation for a second, then I'll continue the Shivani health story around it. But suffice it to say, I had done HRT at a level that I felt really good. And it was kind of able to mask whatever symptoms mold and or perimenopause were giving. And I really do think it was all mold, not perimenopause, based on all the testing I've now done. And I'm going to talk today at the end about tests you can take, supplements you can take, assessment companies you can use, and the approach you can take. So don't worry if you're like, why is this girl taking so long to get to the point? I will get to the point. So I brought in my case, in February, my first mold assessment company. I posted on my Facebook, as many of us do, and I was like, does anyone know a good mold assessment company? I've got a problem. And I was recommended someone, and I was also recommended a great AC company, like they're friends, the mold assessment guy and the AC company. And so I was able to work with both of them. We had the whole house assessed. It was very thorough. You know, when you go through mold assessment, you're really thinking back into every leak your house had. And what's funny is we think of it as like leaks and visible mold, and they're looking for invisible mold and a lot of other things, and they're assessing at a whole different level. So that first company was fantastic. And we found these two hot areas in the house. It was dad's room by the window. The crown molding had like a little bit of water damage, tiny bit, like maybe 2 inches. And it had turned a little light brown. And I was like, yeah, one day we'll like fix that. I'm one of those people where I'm like, paint it, fix it. I had no idea. Every time you see damage in your home, you should be ripping that crap open, maybe with masks, gloves, and some remediators alongside you. And you should be investigating every single tiny thing. Hi, I'm Dr. Shivani Gupta, and I created Fusionary Formulas because I believe everyone deserves a natural way to support their body's health. If you struggle with joint discomfort or stiffness, our Turmeric Gold delivers powerful curcumin in a form your body can truly absorb. It's science-backed with the highest quality ingredients and designed to support your body's natural inflammatory response. Take the next step in your health and wellness journey today. Visit fusionaryformulas.com and use code FusionaryHealth for 15% off. Fusionary Formulas, ancient wisdom, modern science, maximum impact. And I'm trying not to be a crazy girl about mold, but I am like walking that line at this moment in my life because of what I just learned 2 weeks ago. So I'm sharing my mold journey because I am probably smack dab in the middle. I would like to think I'm 80% through. I know I'm not 90% through, but I'm sharing it now as opposed to when I'm totally have won at it, because I think it's important that everyone who might be in the middle of it can start navigating now. It's so important. So we remediated those two hot areas. It was corner of dad's room, a tiny little leak that we did not know was there, had led to black mold, Chaetomium, and Stachybotrys. I have the names here because they're all in my mold health. Stachybotrys toxin. Those two presented very high in that room. And it had unfortunately leaked, and it was in the carpet padding up to 10 feet into the room, which is insane because there was no sign of it. We had no idea. If you leave your ACs running all the time and air is moving, you might never notice. The odor might not even be bad enough for you to know it. Now I know the odor of mold. And now I'm like a trained dog. I'm like, I know when mold is existing. So we remediated. It was a pain in the butt. I made sure we third-party tested after. Once we were clear, we were clear. That room, I had to rip up all the carpet, throw out all the mattresses, throw out the headboard because it was all material, upholstered. It was an upholstered bed. Replaced the bed. The books smelled. I locked those in the garage, even though my family wants the books back. I'm like, no, I'm not bringing the books back. There's still an odor in the room. I fogged the room. I bought these natural fogging materials. We triple dusted it. We somehow have not won at odor. I have a huge air filtration device in there. We are going to refigure out what to do there. Is it HEPA vacuums? Is it more air scrubbing? We don't really know. And I personally want to rip up the whole room again, but financially that makes no sense. So we'll see how we get to the finish line on that room. In laundry, it was pretty clear. Guys, sinks leak, showers leak, and guess what? Windows leak and doors leak as well. So unfortunately, we're all, just like most of us are suffering with leaky gut. We're all living in some levels of leaky houses and leaky buildings. And in my opinion, now we have to have a little bit more of a full court press effort on clean air. I was already obsessed with clean air because of cleaning products and low tox lifestyle. Now I have a whole different feeling about clean air. And I think I should just like carry my air filtration devices with me everywhere I go. Again, I'm trying not to be crazy, but that's a little hard once you step too far into the mold journey for anyone. So I thought after we handled the underneath the laundry sink, ripped everything out, air scrubbed it, that we were done. And I was like, good, okay, we are good to go. Awesome, I'm complete. I paid the money. It was super inconvenient. We're complete. And I remember that feeling of relief, like, okay, we're good. Moving on. It's life. And that was spring 2025. That was false, my friends, completely false. And unfortunately, most of us who remediate don't realize we didn't finish the job. And I think that's so incredibly frustrating. And so summer hit and my symptoms started coming back. I was like, wait a minute. Do we need more? Like, oh, do I need more of everything? More HRT? Like, what's happening here, guys? I want more help. But here's where it got tricky. Now I'm thinking, is it mold again? Is it something else? It was a stressful year. There was a lot going on. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm burnt out. Maybe it's hormones. Maybe it's everything. But it can't be mold. Obviously, mold I handled. I was done. So I kind of started my doctor shuffle. I went to my first doctor. She was like, I already have you on a mold protocol. You're doing all the good things. And I was like, yeah, but good supplementation for cellular health is not enough. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner. Do you know how we detox? Panchakarma is like the most invasive oil change of your life. They go in through every orifice. Like, that's detox. And she goes, we don't have to be so extreme. Let's keep it simple. And I was like, oh, you're not going hard enough at this problem. Like, I need someone else. I went to another doctor. He was like, Shivani, you don't even need to see me. Like, let's just do a hormone panel. It'll tell you what's wrong. So I had to wait, do the hormone panel, get the results. Like, takes a month and a half. It says you're fine. Your cortisol is not high. It's not high cortisol. I was like, great. That was a waste of time. Thank you. But okay. So then finally, I had so many symptoms going on. I was talking to doctor after doctor, trying to get answers. I was trying to call some of my favorite mold experts. They were like going through way too much in their lives. I was like, can someone just like look at me, make sure, like, am I overreacting? Where is the answer? This is too much uncertainty. It's exhausting. I want an answer. And so finally, I found one doctor who I know well. She's been on my podcast. And I called her and I said, hey, something is wrong. I don't understand what it is. I've gone through my own checklists. I didn't have COVID. I have not had a recent trauma. I haven't had any major infection. I have not taken antibiotics. So I have not wiped out my gut. I'm holding my lifestyle strong. Yes, I'm in a stressful time of my life. I've got teenagers and I'm trying to do a book launch and maintain my amazing supplement company, and my team is growing. It's like a lot at once. But normally my Ayurvedic lifestyle can hold me, and I know how to flex with self-care and my lifestyle and my tools. But something is wrong. And she was like, well, what's going on? I said, well, I went to Japan. I said, I'm having acute hair loss. And you know what's funny about hair loss? No one believes you. They think you're overreacting. And I think that's ridiculous. I think as a society, when someone says what their symptom is, you should listen. So I kept saying acute hair loss to my favorite doctors. And they're like, you'll be fine. So I go to dermatology. Finally, imagine Shivani Gupta going to Western medicine means like I'm at my final doors and I'm like, hello. And she does a pull test. I don't know how hard she pulled on my hair, but I remember she looked at me, she goes, wow, you are having a lot of hair loss. That's a lot. I was like, thank you. Why does no one believe me? I don't make shit up. I'm really clear as a human being. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it in between? I was being clear with the word acute. I wasn't saying some, annoying. I was saying, yo, people, it's falling out so fast. I'm going to be bald by next year. Can we find a solution here? Just tell me what to do. I will do it. So I go to this doctor and I said, something is wrong. Look at my history. I'm going to send you my Dropbox file. I'll just send you 2024 to 2025. I won't send you the whole history. And she said, with complete certainty, yep, I am certain you're still in mold. And I was like, excuse me, what? No. I handled that. She goes, yeah, everyone says. Everyone says they handled it. Why don't you come see me? I've got some pretty great tools that will stop your hair loss. You can come up here to my office. I've got you. And I said, you know what? At this point, I've tried everything. I'm going to have to try your door. I can't lose all my hair. So I went up there and it was like this moment of thank you for finally giving me a solution. Because I had already been trying like Nutrafol shampoo and Nutrafol serum and like whatever dermatology game I was trying. I was trying the oils and things that I know about that are good and natural and rubbing my head and brushing my hair, all the things we do for hair loss. Hair loss is quite $1 billion industry because once you have hair loss, you realize how desperate you get because you're like, can someone just stop this journey? And so on the one hand, it was great because I was like, yes, I'm not crazy. But on the other hand, I said, whoa, we still have mold? That is an expensive project. What do you mean? So she gave me the number for an assessor and she gave me the number for a mold dog. So we went back in. I called in the mold dog guy, even though, by the way, I'm scared of dogs. I was like, whatever, let's do it. This time, the mold dog found a whole new set of issues. Now, if you've never heard of a mold dog, they are incredible animals. They've trained specifically to detect mold, even behind walls, in places where assessment tools might miss. And so their noses are so precise, so accurate. And guess what the dog found? A brand new set of super hotspots, completely different from those first two areas that the full assessment found. And I was like, okay, great. All right, we're doing this again. Okay, I don't even want to pay for this, but okay. Plus, what's really important is there were issues with my AC units. That really, really, really scared me because I was like, great, now we're really talking about problems. If it's fully airborne, from what I understand about mold, which creates spores, which has series of mycotoxins in them, and from what I've learned, mycotoxins are 2 to 4, micrometers. There's a word for it. They're like 2 or 4% in thinness in size compared to like a hair follicle. A hair follicle is like much thicker in proportion, maybe proportions like 20x compared to a mycotoxin spore. And mycotoxins are toxins. They get in your body, they get in your fat cells, and they stay there. They destroy your mitochondria, they destroy your health, they destroy your brain. They get right into the bloodstream because you breathe it in through the nose. They go right deep into the lungs, straight into your blood, start to spread. And so you never know how you're going to manifest it. For some people, it's brain fog. For some people, it's gut issues. For some people, it's fatigue, chronic fatigue. Now that I have been paying attention to mold all year, I'm so incredibly impressed that I did not generate full-blown autoimmune condition and full-blown diseases. Given the history of my health, that would have been the perfect storm way to cause serious disease in my body. My lifestyle is holding me so well. The fact that I live an anti-inflammatory, completely Ayurvedic lifestyle, and I've built that as my rule of law for the entire household, I believe is why we are okay. Our symptoms are mild. But from what I've seen, people show up with horrible, horrible diseases, and they never, ever, ever thought it could be mold. So when I realized just in the last 2-3 weeks that, okay, the mold dog found more issues, the problem is deeper than we thought, this isn't just a fix it and forget it issue, and oftentimes remediators fail at their job, this is really an ongoing situation. And considering mold is common in almost all of our AC units, it's really an ongoing vigilance issue that I'm going to have to pay attention to. I'm going to have to focus on home maintenance a little bit more than I thought. And the house is mostly clear now. I just got the assessment results back. But here's the fascinating part that changed everything for me. Not every mold series and species on my personal test was found in my house. let that sink in for a second. I have huge results, and I can see if the mold in your house and in your test, if the mold in your test isn't all in your house, where is it coming from? Now I have to test my office. Now I have to test my car. I actually have to go deeper because I want to understand this. At this point, I'm going to get my answers no matter what. And so now we get to the protocol, getting real about detoxing. And this is where everything really changed for me, because I realized it's not just about the house. It's actually about your body's resilience. It's about your capacity to handle the mold exposure that's literally everywhere around us. So I've had to get even more serious about detox, even though I already teach it, I already know it, I already practice it. But detoxing for mycotoxins is actually a different commitment level than your typical detox. So it's not one of those harsh detox yourself in 3 days crap that we see online. It's actually about being much more gentle, sustainable, and using an evidence-based detox that's actually going to support your natural systems. And so first, I will say I have at least 4 air doctors in my home. And I actually have an air purifier from another company. And here's an interesting tidbit. When the mold dog ran through my home and checked room by room, in every room that had an air doctor, it alerted to the air doctor. So we had to pull it out of every room to recheck every room and say, is there mold in that room or not? And it would say no. The dog would say no. And then when he'd go outside, he'd be like, oh my gosh, this air doctor. Which means that the air purifier has been incredibly effective, and it's been measurably improving our air quality. It's been pulling all the mycotoxins, the mold, out of our air and into the unit, into those filters. Now it's my job to go clean those, get those pure and clean again and use them because they're working. But not all air purifiers are created equal. And this one actually does what it promises. And that's a big deal. I am in the middle of a mold journey, and the air purifiers I put in my children's room and my room worked. That's huge. And I believe that that's part of why we are feeling just fine. We can't say that we have mold toxicity and mold illness. We're actually feeling fine. And the clean air is just the beginning. I think the real work starts with foundational practices. What is your supplementation plan? As I've been studying the MyMycoLab test and hearing from the creator of it, or the gentleman who is the medical director, and I've been learning about supplements around mold, curcumin, turmeric, a lot of the magnesium, vitamin D, B vitamins, melatonin, a lot of the vitamins I believe in have a profound role in supporting the cellular health we want to have when it comes to mold. Then sauna therapy, which Ayurveda talks a lot about sweating as a form of detox. So sweating isn't just about detox, it's also about supporting your lymphatic system, improving circulation, getting those toxins moving out through your skin. And so in my home, I own the Therasage infrared sauna. I don't know if you heard my past podcast with Robbie Bessner, the founder of Therasage, but he and I talked about how having your head out of the sauna has a tremendous benefit. So that's been my job, is get in the sauna more. Then there's circadian rhythm restoration. And this is where sleep becomes non-negotiable. Your body does the majority of its detox work while you're sleeping. So if your sleep is garbage, your detox is garbage, period. So all year I have been deep sleep tea, deep sleep gummies, deep sleep tea, deep sleep gummies. And now I learned 3 milligrams of melatonin per night is very supportive for the cellular damage that we have in the body and helping us with the metabolism of getting mold toxins out of the body. So guess who's taking her own sleep gummies nightly now? Like it's my job, me. Then when we talk about nourishing all tissues, you cannot detox from a depleted state. You just can't. The body's not going to open up and say, yeah, let me dump some toxins in you. So your liver needs nutrients, your cells need building blocks. You have to nourish to heal. That's where Ayurveda comes in. We already teach a really great nourishing diet. It's called the Sattvic diet. And I have a whole book coming out that has that in there, and I teach it right here online to you guys. Then Epsom salt baths, magnesium, sulfur are both critical for your detox pathways. Plus they're relaxing. And so when you're dealing with the stress of mold illness, that relaxation matters too. Then there's a supplement strategy. Let's talk supplements, which, as you know, is one of my favorite topics. So, because there are some supplements that genuinely are game changers for mold detox, and there's research that backs that up. Now, you might think glutathione and NAC first, because glutathione is our master antioxidant. Turns out that there's a type of mold called, it starts with a Z, and it's on my test, zearalenone. Zearalenone, however you say that one. Apparently, that one becomes more toxic in the body if you just throw glutathione in the mix. So I was doing that. I have since stopped. Then there's curcumin. Now, this one I'm particularly passionate about because we formulated turmeric gold and inflammation relief in my own product line to help everyone with their inflammation and their overall health. And we know curcumin is a natural polyphenol with these antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and antifungal properties. So it shows promise in helping us detox from mycotoxins. And research has shown that curcumin enhances our liver function. It contributes to mycotoxin elimination. It's the ultimate janitor. It cleans junk out of the system. And so now I'm like, well, I need to be taking even more. I need to be even more consistent and remembering that this is my key to winning at the project. And we know that curcumin specifically helps to reduce inflammation and that it aids in flushing out mycotoxins by supporting liver detoxification and protecting us against this oxidative stress that's caused by the mold toxin. So we could be in a state where our blood work is showing inflammation, but it's our mold toxins causing oxidative stress, which is increasing our inflammation. See how it's like a catch-22 cycle? And we have to pause and address it. So I am taking my turmeric gold, which is the best turmeric on the market, in my opinion. I'm taking my inflammation relief, which is a synergy of herbs to approach inflammation. So I'm not just managing my inflammation, I'm going to win at it, especially on the mold toxicity project. And then I'm actively supporting my body with binders. I know some people believe in binders, some don't. I'm under the care of my functional medicine doc for that one, so that I always have another practitioner keeping eyes on me so I don't go too far too fast with my detox ideas. And there are other great supplements. I mentioned melatonin, magnesium. So it's important to understand what you need to take. And I'm a big believer in taking it from really great supplement companies and be really careful who you choose. Picking something up off the shelf or off Amazon is really risky. So if you have questions there, you can always reach out to me. The best way to try to find me is on Instagram. I'm on Instagram a couple times a day. You can DM me. And so the next thing I want to talk about is how can I help you on this journey? If you have questions and if you're in South Florida, I'm happy to give you some vendors. Here's the thing. I'm now using a second assessment company because the first one was great, but we had to really go deeper. Sometimes you're assessing and they don't want to take a million samples because they're going to look like they're going to rip you off. Well, we had a past leak above the laundry room from the upstairs attic. And when I mentioned it to the second assessor, he goes, I'm going to swab test that. Because what you're saying is you already air tested everything. Air in your home is fine. You are fine on air. But if you swab test, turns out that thing is like a harboring, I don't know what you'd call it, bomb of chaetomia. And so now we're going to have to truly remediate. It's in that laundry room wall meets entire family room, entire kitchen. Like it's the public center of the home. So it's going to have to be done properly. And that's my next step in the next few weeks. But I just want you to know that I am here for you. I am so frustrated by this project. I definitely didn't want to waste my time in 2025 on this. I certainly don't want to pause and detox, but what's great is I'm already using a lot of the great tools. I'm using deep sleep tea. I'm taking my Sweet Dreams gummies. I'm taking turmeric gold. I love inflammation relief. I am bringing in more of my infrared sauna on top of my circadian walks that I already do twice a day. I teach you guys tea time is me time. I do that too. And we know in Ayurveda that our body is designed to heal itself. And so our job is to really set the body up to have that resilience. In Ayurveda, we call that ojas. We're meant to have agni, a strong digestive fire. We're meant to bring these things together so that we can have the health that we want. And now that I'm almost clear of the mold project, the question is, okay, what's the plan next? People are asking me, what are you going to do for your family? I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get 8 supplements in these children, but it'll be a project and I'm ready to complete it in this year, hopefully pre-Christmas. That's my goal is can I beat mold as a project by Christmas, knowing full well detox can take a little longer. But it's just so important to know mold, in my case, was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had already had like a stressful event, body could have been dysregulated, put a stressful project into my life. That's a good thing, but writing a book is quite a project. It's much more intense than I understood. Then you add mold on top, and wow, hair loss started. And so now it's like, understand your whole story. Understand what is that burden that's kind of adding up in your life. We call it bucket theory a lot in functional medicine right now. And then get the help you need. Start living the low tox lifestyle. Start reducing inflammation. Make sure you're sleeping well. Make sure you're managing stress. Make sure you're nourishing your body. And build that into your life, as your lifestyle. So you can have the resilience you need. We're all going to be exposed to environmental toxins. But when you're depleted and you're running on empty, that's when the mold can take you down. So it's time to take ownership of where in your life are you not approaching these things? Where are you letting things slide? Where have you stopped practicing what you know is so good for you and works for you? And where are you just too busy to focus on what matters? And the self-care deficit that I was in last year made me vulnerable to mold. That was on me. But recognizing that is when the true healing could begin. And so I hope this episode was helpful for you today. I hope that my journey illuminates for you mold testing. I can send you the link to order the same test I took. It's called the MyMycoLab test. I hope you'll call mold assessment companies who are trustworthy and good. That's very important. When you remediate, just so you know, 90% of the time they don't win at remediation. So you have to be really careful there as well. And then if you have any questions about supplements and things like that, or from Fusionary, I am here for you. I create really high-powered supplements because I know we need stuff that works, that'll really do the job. And so I hope you enjoyed this episode today, even though it's a bit of a Debbie Downer. I know mold is not a positive topic. I know it's not sexy, it's not cool, but the basics that Ayurveda teaches us, Ayurveda knows. It's sleep, nourishment, rhythm, consistency. It's knowing your elemental design and moving forward without that mental inflammation that will help us win. So I'm so grateful for all of you here. I hope you are living in homes completely free of mold, with bodies completely free of any environmental burden. But if you are in that middle of that journey, reach out to me. I love sharing what I've learned. I love learning from all of you. And if you're having a health mystery right now, whether it's mold or something else entirely, I want you to ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me? And what foundation of self-care have I been neglecting that made me a little vulnerable in the first place? So I hope you enjoyed this episode today. For more information about me and the podcast, check out drshivani.com. It's Shivani. My supplements are at fusionaryformulas.com. The code FusionaryHealth gives you 15% off on your first order. And I hope all of you stay so well, so vibrant. Share this episode with someone you love who might need to hear this message today. And I'll see you for the next episode. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Check out our sponsor, Fusionary Formulas, the potent turmeric supplement used by doctors around the U.S. for patients with pain and inflammation. www.fusionaryformulas.com. I'm your host, Dr. Shivani Gupta. For more, visit shivanigupta.com. Subscribe to this podcast in Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Click the follow button or subscribe in any of the apps that you use. That's all I've got for you on the Fusionary Health podcast this week. You have the power to transform your health and achieve vibrant health starting today.